Welcome back, guys. Today we have a different guest on. We Some of you may or may not have heard of him. This guy is a coach. He's an athlete. He's a father. Is that right?
That's right. We only have four, so not too
Okay.
many, but yeah, it's the jungle.
Okay. Yeah.
They're all
So
locked up in
yeah,
the back room right now.
we have JD here today. So JD, yes, for those listeners who have not heard of you, just give it like a good introduction on who you are.
Gosh, well, thanks for having me on. My name's JD. I'm a coach. I'm an athlete. I'm a natural bodybuilder. So I've been kind of doing this my whole working career. Got out of it during the COVID thing a little bit. That kind of shifted things for all of us, but really stepped back into that realm and that world after the COVID scene. And yeah, I've been, personal training since about 2007 out in Vancouver and then moved to Vancouver Island 2009. And I've been out this way ever since. So most of my work that I do is on Vancouver Island. And then because of the lovely World Wide Web and the online coaching spectrum, we get to reach out to a whole different demographic of people, right? So the client list has expanded. Started working with actually with athletes for coaching as far as bodybuilding shows and go whatnot. I've always kind of outsourced that. I always thought, oh, that's not really my wheelhouse. It's more general health, fitness, a lot of rehabilitative work. Seniors actually too. Like with any form of training, once you have one client, you get comfortable with that, then things start rolling. So I've had people reach out and want to have me prepare them for their shows, which has been a really cool avenue to step into. Quite a bit different, but yeah, it's nice to be doing something that you love doing, and be able to call this work and this a career. And it's awesome to have met you guys and everyone through the rungs of doing this, right? And it's great. Happy to be here, and I feel like we're just getting started.
Yeah. Yeah. So you did mention that you are an in-person trainer that out in Vancouver here, and you've been doing that since what, 2000, you said 2007?
Yeah, so it was, started working with people in person, 2007, had my head in the books like 2006. I don't know how old you guys are, right? You look a bit younger than me. But that back then it was a little different. There was a lot of, in-person classes to get your training. I think it was probably more difficult to become a personal trainer and become certified. Like it took a while to get all your stuff, right? But that's what the industry was at that time. It was in person training, hour after hour, and that's what it was. Things have shifted a lot in the coaching, the fitness, the business space in general, just like every industry, I think, right? And things have shifted and changed, more more rapidly than ever, right? Like the curve has just gone right up. So it's forced us to have to adapt to how the industry is shifting, which is a positive if you've stuck with it and have hung on. So I've got the utmost respect for really anyone that's definitely, both feet in. I love it. It's not easy though, for sure. Like there's a lot to handle, and every time I say that, people kind of do the nod and the smile, and they're like, "Yeah, it's a great thing." But like anything, it takes all the skin in the game. So, yeah, I've been training that way, and then got more into the online space. And to be honest, I tell trainers this too, because people come ask, like even on a monetary side, what trainers got paid per hour 10, 15 years ago, truly, you could make a living at it, okay? You could train 6 hours, 7 hours a day, do your scheduling, do some program work, but like your main basis was in-person PT, and you could do pretty good with it, right? Well, the way the economy's gone, the way things have shifted, the cost that trainers make per hour hasn't gone up um, to the rate of what inflation and cost of living is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's forced people to have to adapt, um, to have to scale your business, right? Now, the most important part is you still want to add that value to the customers and to your members and your athletes and clients. If you're in this game I think most of the work or a lot of the work has shifted to the online space because, like I say, it's a way to scale the business. So I do still do both, but most of the work is now shifted to online coaching programs. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I know exactly what you're talking about. We both scaled from in-person training onto the online space. I still do personal training up to this date still.
Yeah.
And it's a different demographic, I would agree. Now, being online and trying to work with a lot of different people around the world versus getting actually to see that person and helping them through their exercise, their workouts, and keeping them accountable in a different way. I do agree it's a very different perspective and different type of work and keeping everybody intact. Now, understanding being in personal training and being and doing that for an extended period of time and then switching onto online, how would you compare the both as in managing scheduling, managing the accountability side for clients?
You know what? That's a great question. I think what trainers have to do if they're looking to take that shift one way or the other, or they're just planning to start out into the online coaching space and never do in person, whatever it is, I think you have to treat it like a real viable business, right? You have to take it really seriously. I think personal training certifications, straight up, man, it's pretty easy for a lot of people to get, a PT certificate or whatever, coaching, like that was my hesitancy of getting into it because I almost felt like I saw a lot of dilution there, right? When it came to proper value and professionalism and just that whole world. But I think if you treat it like a actual solid business, then you put all those pieces in play. And what I mean is you have to look at the product, you got to look at the value, you have to look at proper client retention, um, the scalability factor, the contact, everything there has to be in play. And it took to get to where my business particularly is now, it's taken at least 3 years to get it to where it's at. And honestly, like the first 2+ years of learning that side, getting back to your original question, was like, bro, it was crazy. Like, okay, like there has been countless times where I'm thinking, this is insanity. Like this is crazy. What the hell am I doing? I got to go get a real job. This is, like if I didn't love it like I do, there's no way I would have done it. And I think most people are like that. So you have to, like it's a lot. I don't know how to answer that simply because when you're in person and that's what you've done, like maybe that's I don't know if that's all you're doing or you got athletes, so you obviously do the other stuff too. But you have to like you're training your clients and then you have to learn that other part of the business before just stepping into it, right? I think that's important. You got to know what you're doing. And that's what I've seen. I've seen trainers and coaches get into that world and like a lot of the time they don't really know what they're doing. It's advertised as like, oh, be this fitness coach and drink your margaritas on the beach and make if you're not making $75,000 a month, you're not doing it right. Like there's all this, you know what I'm talking about? There's all this stuff out there. And you gotta learn the tangible proper business first and how to do it before you get the wheels going. Like it doesn't have to be perfect, but I always say like it's got to be at least 70, 80%. You'll iron the kinks out along the way. Like I use Trainerize, right? For my coaching app and it's a common one. I think it's out of Vancouver. But the first little bit, it took a while to really hone in and do the existing business, not take the gas pedal off that, and then schedule a time aside to learn that platform and how it works and talk to the people there, which they've always been great with, right? And then slowly implement that.
Makes a lot of sense. Like I feel you there, man, switching over because I was also an in-person personal trainer working for another guy's company. And like going from that to online, like at first I had no idea what to do. And then had actually a client of mine that I coached to like the bodybuilding stage where he got his Men's Physique Pro card. And he hired a mentor and like he all of a sudden just blew up from there. He was able to switch to going online within like the first month.
Yeah.
And like that's what I did too. Like I seen how well he was succeeding with a mentor. I feel like with anything, like having some sort of person that's been there before and like can help
Yeah.
you set up the systems, have the learning process be much shorter than trying to learn everything yourself. I find that is so key, especially with online coaching. And a big one too is like being able to coach in person first so you understand what movements people are capable of doing. Because if
Yeah.
you've never coached in person, I feel like a lot of people online will give certain movements where people may not have the strength or the mobility, especially if you're working with lifestyle people. If you're trying to give them like a specific, like a back squat, and you don't know how deep they can squat or what the movement pattern looks like, it's very challenging from that perspective. So I find with the online space, being able to, especially if you're working with lifestyle clients, being able to like have some sort of movement screening or have some form of thing where you're getting videos and seeing how the person is moving. But I always look back and just think like it's so important to be able to have those in-person skills when you are transitioning to online. Because I've seen people just do it online first without all of that in-person stuff, and it's pretty scary to look at.
I think you guys bring out like very, very good pointers for new coaches or even existing coaches, things that they might have missed out during the process of transitioning from an in-person trainer to an online or vice versa. I do believe myself still doing personal training until this point, as well as online, doing both really just takes care of the caring part of the actual industry itself, which is I think the service industry as a personal trainer. And we can see that you have a lot of passion in this industry, which is great. It's very rare to run into people with very similar mindsets as so.
Yeah.
And as yourself, you care a lot about your athletes as well. And you also said you have a couple of athletes who are going on stage too. When is that coming up?
So I just had a guy, he's out in the States and he did Arkansas. And that was his first show actually. So that was the last athlete that I just had. And then I'm working with him off season and then he's going to get back going again. I had someone last May at the Vancouver show. So I'm still newer to it. I've only had a few people that I've worked with on stage at this point. So it is still new to me. But I'm getting more reaching out all the time. I think once that bubble's kind of bursted, right? I'm the type where I've always been kind of cautious, and I think we all have those bits where we can be overcritical and not have the confidence, right? I think that could be a positive or negative, right? Or that can have both, good and bad sides to it. But once I step into it, like my personality, once I get that, then it starts rolling, right? So I can see that happening pretty strong for the next couple of years. But this last year was the first year that I had actual athletes on a stage that I've worked with. I've always outsourced it, and my main clientele really has been, I would say, like general fitness and regular average people. And I don't mean that as like, oh, you're just your average Joe, but you know what I'm talking about. Okay. And I think these people, um, that's a huge impact for them, right? Because they're walking around, they're living life, they're doing their thing, and I've always liked to see people go from one place in their life to another. Like help move them towards their potential is the big thing. So it means a lot, to those people that are not desiring to be an athlete or whatnot. And you're passionate and your discipline in your athletic world can roll over directly into any type of client that you're working, right? You don't have to give them the same intensity and the same volume and all that, but the principles are still the same, right? Regardless if they're training at the gym once a week or 5 days a week, right? So that's been, my main source of work. And then just from being a natural athlete, as you both gentlemen are, our bodies do not work the same as let's say the enhanced group. Okay, I think even on the natural side, we in some ways like we know the body almost to a greater degree, dare I say, because our risk of injury is higher. Like you really have to know how to isolate muscle groups, and your form and your technique has to be dialed right in, right? Our recovery is not the same. So my point is you learn the body really well which directly rolls over into rehabilitative work, which is big for, like I say, the senior, the third age group, that clientele group I've really enjoyed working with because they get a lot out of it, just to increase their mobility and to have them stand up out of a chair stronger than they could, really could be the factor of them getting another 5, 10 years out of their life, uh, increasing their energy because if their body's all bound up, it's restrictive and it's affecting their posture, their digestion, like everything that way, right? So my passion is bodybuilding and the athleticism side, but a lot of my work does roll into those other parts of the industry and that other clientele group.
Yeah, that's cool. But you did say that you enjoy bodybuilding, and I just want to rewind back a little bit. Just curious, do you have a preference or niche in saying like a type of athlete that you like to take on stage for bodybuilding?
Is there a certain type of athlete that I
Yeah, like
that
do you take like all sorts of athletes? Like do you take just bodybuilders or do you take like men's physiques, bikinis, figures, any of those, or you just
so I've had a men's physique fellow, and then I've had bodybuilding. So those are the two. And with classic physique coming into, I think the WMBF, I think last year
yeah.
was that the first year that they introduced it. It's all different. So that's honestly an area that I'm learning as well myself. I've always been passionate about the bodybuilding world, mostly that category, because when I first got into this, like just out of high school, I would say, like I trained before that. Dude, it was like Flex magazine, it was muscular development, like straight up, that was my sources of education, okay? That's legit. I would read those things front to back, and like natural bodybuilding was not a thing. Like I didn't hear about it in like mid 2000s. I graduated '04, okay? Uh, and I was training all through high school. I never had a desire to step into that other world as far as enhanced goes, right? But I loved the body. Like, dude, it was Muscle Tech guys and Cutler and like, it was like that was I had my bathroom plastered with all, do you know those magazines? Do you guys buy them? Okay. Remember the advertisement Animal, the
I
black and
do.
Yeah,
white? There's the guy that's like, he's like 300 pounds and he's like, eating his oatmeal for the 400th time in a row. And it's just like this grungy hardcore. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, fuck yeah, that's what it's about. And I had this shit plastered all over my room. I just imagine like your girlfriend at the time, she comes over and she's like, what is going on here? You know? Uh, but anyways, sorry, I'm shooting off to the side there.
That's
That
okay.
was my main thing. It was just to be, bro, it was about to be as jacked as possible, right? Like that's all that's all we knew. So that's what it was. The shows were just bodybuilding too. I would go watch like the BCs and the Sandra Wickham, and at the time, that's what was out there. I think there like 3 shows maybe in BC,
Yeah.
yeah.
and that's all there was. So that was my main footprint, was the bodybuilding side, and then learning how the industry opened up, like even for women too, right? Like bikini wasn't in, it came in a couple years after that. So I've always been fascinated with how you could change your physique. Like it's the coolest thing ever, and bodybuilding, in my opinion, kind of was that. um, However, it's really neat to see, as I'm learning from my last show, as we get older, and me myself as a taller guy, I'm 6 feet, maybe just over six, but that's like considered a little bit on the taller side, right? And as I'm also getting older, and as a natural guy, you just don't hold the mass that you held, right? When you start getting older, these things happen. So that makes me now look at these other classes as a viable class, not only for myself, but my competitors, right? So I look at them and I go, okay, where are you going to best fit? Because these last 2 years, I put all my eggs in the basket. Adrian was there. He saw me both times. And I gave it 110%, thinking, okay, you know, show up the best you can, give it everything, come in as conditioned as possible, and you're going to take it. And the classes, because of the three now, but I feel like there's a certain look, for each class. Does that make sense? It
Oh, for
is.
sure. Yeah. Yeah, Adrian and I are both judges too, so yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, you guys know far better than myself, where I feel like for a long time, bodybuilding, especially Canada, it was to just get as crisp, as conditioned, symmetrical, but like conditioning one period, end of story. That was it. Where what I'm seeing, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it's not that conditioning goes out the window. However, muscle size and that V taper, that part is really stepping back into bodybuilding, even more so than it did 10 years ago because of, let's say, classic physique coming in, right? So the guys that are bigger, capped out shoulders, big chest, like that type of thing, right, is really taking the cake for the bodybuilding classes.
I can't say you're wrong. Now, with the WNBF or the CPA, there's more and more athletes coming in to compete. Therefore, the caliber has increased, and now they're
Right,
going to be looking for the particular person who's got more of the genetic edge. That will come into play. The overall X-frame shape for bodybuilding, muscle mass, it is a bodybuilding show at the end of the day, so muscle mass will be considered as part of the criteria.
right,
So that is also it has evolved over time, even for enhanced the in Mr. Olympia. You could just see back in 2011, who was that? Phil Heath, the physique that Phil Heath brought to the stage in Mr. Olympia versus now Derek Glassman. They have a very different physique. Some people argue that Phil Heath had a better physique back then compared to now.
you know, um, it seems like they don't have as long as a reign now as they used to. I don't know if it's just higher level of competition. I know Bumstead took it for how many years, but
6 years? Yeah,
yeah,
6 years. Yeah.
I feel like with natural body, it's kind of like a spectrum where when you look at some because with a judge, how you're supposed to go about it is like look at the people on the world stage and people that are winning there and try to compare your athletes to them. So whoever has like the closest look, so it could be like obviously we want to be as conditioned as possible and have the most amount of muscle as possible. But yeah, like there could be somebody that's has more muscle but not quite as conditioned, and then there's somebody that is super conditioned but doesn't quite have the amount of muscle. And it's
right.
like trying to find, okay, like how close are they to the ideal physique? And sometimes it's like and then sometimes it's the head judge too. Sometimes a certain judge will favor a little bit more size. For some people, will favor a little bit more conditioning. I
Yeah.
feel like for me personally, I always generally favor conditioning a little bit more because I know how brutal it is to get to the last little bit of get to the extreme level of conditioning.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's hard, like especially when guys have like a ton of mass, and like if they have that shape, and then there's somebody that doesn't quite have the same amount of mass but has crazy conditioning. It's always tricky. It can be a flip of a coin sometimes in those scenarios. So
Right. That's why there's so many judges too, I guess, right? Like what is there, seven people up there?
Yeah.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Seven
Yeah.
people.
So there's that, yeah, because everyone does have a bias, right? And that's why it is what it is. And everyone's got their own journey as an athlete, right? I've done all right. I've done pretty good. And people hear that. Like my clients hear that, and I can be a bit hard on myself. I think it's a positive thing. I'm sure you guys are too. You guys are leading, guys in this industry and all that you're doing. So I think that's a positive thing. I don't say it to beat me down, but it helps to push me to that next level, right? Um, I'm not that guy that shows up necessarily and just cleans house, right? You know, uh, but I think that can be a positive for people that are the same, right? Like athletes or even clients that might have a harder time losing that weight or hitting those goals that they want to. That's the aspect that I have personally, um, like I haven't won a class in all the shows that I've done, right? I actually have not. And that's been a little bit of a challenge, if I'm being honest, right? But at the same time, I've only showed up doing one show at a year, one class only, right? And I've come close. That pushes me to just keep driving hard and going, I'm gonna get it, and switching game plans if you need to. You got to do what you got to do. So this next year, next go around, I think I'll do a few categories, right? And I'm gonna wait till 27 because I'll be 40. So we're gonna hit the old masters there and see what happens.
Big thanks to True North Sportswear for sponsoring this video. The gear I use and I love. Use code TEAMNS for 50% off your first purchase. And now, back to the video.
That's
So
awesome,
you're
man.
going to be 40 in 27?
Yeah, so I just turned 39. So I'm gonna, yeah, so I turned 40 at the tail end of 2026. So in 2027, I will be 40, and then I'm gonna do a few different shows. And just we're probably gonna hit at least 3 shows and just go in there full bore. I'm getting married next year, so
Hey!
my fiance is like, yeah, maybe we'll hold off. And I wanted to do this anyways, but she's like, unless you want to look like I forget what she said. So she's like, "What? We'll take a little bit of time off." I feel blessed that I get to have that aspect of my life, and it's truly the most important part of my life. My faith, my family, that's number one. And I want to show people that even if being an athlete is a little more on the extracurricular side, it's not your sole focus and kind of one of your number one thing. You can still actually hit that top peak, and that's the goal that I'm trying to hit, right? Still being able to prioritize the other parts of your life and push yourself even as an athlete competitively.
That's a
So
great
that's what
point.
I'm to
So,
do.
yeah, that begs me to ask you because it probably is the obvious answer, but I'm still going to ask it anyway. What is the goal for yourself as an athlete?
Bro, I'd love to win. I want to win a class. I want to at least win a class for show. I and I'd love to turn pro. That would be like, dude, that'd be a dream. Um, I never really saw that as possible. And a few things in my life has happened during the COVID thing that brought me to, yeah, I went through a pretty dark, tough time I want to say 2020 to 2022. And a lot of things shifted and changed in my life, and I recommitted to this industry and a few other things in my life. And I said, well, that's always been something that I thought would be the one of the coolest things to do. So turning pro would be amazing. And it's not just about getting a pro card and hitting that status. Honestly, man, it's the journey moving to it. Like, who I sounds corny and everything, but how you evolve from where you're at to that level and beyond is, I think, what life's about. I think it's about striving to kind of chase your potential and move towards that line. And that affects every other part of your life. You know, I want to be that parent that hopefully my kids can look at and think, yeah, like, dad gets up and he gets after it, right? Because we grew up, and a lot of people grow up where their parents come home and they're just, oh, like another day. And you grow up and you hear all these stories. Oh, you can do whatever you want to do, and you can be whatever you want to be, and whatever. But life has a way of beating people's asses down, right? And then you get to that later stage in your life, and the things that you may have desired to have just kind of vanish away because of how life happens, right? You really can press in and hit those milestones if you commit to it and dedicate to it. If we're living it to our level, we're gonna better influence them.
Yeah. Lead by
So,
example, right? So I
right.
100% agree. Yeah.
You made some really good pointers for even just for regular lifestyle individuals out there. Probably my one of my questions is how would you view your lifestyle or even your life from being just a parent and an athlete?
I think it's all encompassing, actually. That's a great question. And I think a lot of people see it as pulls apart, but the pursuit of excellence, I listened to a fella, he's become a mentor, Andy Frisella, right? And I think if the gas pedal's on and you're pushing and you're committed and you're focused on task at hand and you're trying to execute at the highest level possible in whichever you're doing, that's kind of what an athlete's doing, right? And you can have that roll over into other aspects of your life, even with what we're doing right now. With competing, it teaches you how to be much more efficient with your time. When your meals are all set like they are for a prep and a show, I don't know how you guys are, but at times you stop, you eat your meal, and you're like, whoa, I like have all this extra time. You don't realize how much time goes into, oh, what's my next meal going to be like? Am I going to go order out? Or like, you're kind of scrambling all the time. So when you're in prep, everything is dialed right in, So it teaches you that level of, efficiency and effectiveness, really. And that can go into other parts of your world with your coaching, your family life too, right? To make sure that when you have time, we're a blended family, right? So there's times where we don't have any of the kids, and there's times where we have all four of our kids, right? But to be able to be focused as a parent and have that proper time with the kids is what they deserve and really important. You're not this bag of shit at the end of your day, just kind of like, oh, like go put a TV on or whatever. So it's high level across the board.
That's great.
That's awesome. I one thing I do like about competing too is like a lot of times you're in a state where you really don't want to do something, but you have to get it done. And being in that, like constantly doing that builds so much confidence in yourself and like being able to take action when things are getting really tough. And I find that always ties into other aspects of your life as well. So I find that's always another awesome one that comes along with
Discipline.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about that now out there. You hear all this, right? It's not motivation, it's discipline, right? But there's a lot of truth to it. So you're absolutely right. And then if you're teaching your clients that, that's what it's about. It's not just off how you're feeling. It's like, okay, this needs to be done. Get up and go. Like put the feelings aside and execute. And then you always feel better about yourself because that's a double pat on the back because you knew what you were supposed to do when you most definitely did not feel like it. And that's really important. I think it's important too, for men, right? Like to have that masculinity side. We need to show that too for other men around, what it looks like to execute on a high level and to be on purpose, to live on purpose, right? If we shine brighter, we show up, we live our life that we know we're destined and supposed to live, and it's never perfect, right? But we try, we really try, we get honest with ourselves. That's a superpower for sure.
100%. Yeah.
All very good information for everybody out there who's looking to improve your quality of life, get a lift in. As you said, JD, get 10 more years on your life, just
Hey,
being a little bit stronger. So you did mention that your 2026 season is going to be your off season and then potentially looking at a 2027 competition.
we're hitting it hard in 27, baby. Yep. it's gonna
Okay.
be
Do you
it's
have
gonna
any
be
athletes
awesome.
coming on for 26?
I do. So in the States, I have a couple, it looks like, and then I have another fella I'm talking with here that might be doing, I think, the Kelowna show.
Nice.
So
Nice.
the
Yeah.
WNBF Kelowna, yeah.
Are you going to come to
So
Vancouver?
yeah, I think so. It'd be nice to go check out the show and see the group there, right? For sure. Like the WNBF, you guys have always been fantastic, and it's been an awesome. That's where I met you, Adrian, right?
Yeah.
So it's been a cool thing, and I hats off to you as well yourself, man. Like when you show up on a stage and you're just talking, you've got a captivating, strong presence about you. Like when I've seen you at the posing clinics and that, and you have that, you carry that with you. It's awesome. So keep that up yourself, right? That's killer. I remember that from you when I feel like I first met you maybe at one of the posing clinics in 24 possibly.
Possibly. Yeah. But thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, and all my family's in Vancouver. Like I'm the only one out here. The kids are out here, but I grew up in the Lower Mainland out there, so in Port Coquitlam.
Oh,
Um,
sweet.
yeah, good old Poco. Yeah.
Yeah. Good old folk.
So yeah, we get out there a few times a year, and it's nice to just branch out. Where I live in a town called Port Alberni, and it's an old mill town, and a lot of people haven't heard of it.
I
A
have.
lot of people who've lived here, bro, they have not left here. Like it is multi-generational.
Yeah.
It's like there's under 20,000 people here, and it's like just this hub, right? But it's nice to get out and see people outside of that, and that's really important to me. And go check out. hit the West Coast Iron and make Kelowna's got a good training center up there too. We're a good community of people, and the Vancouver, yeah, that was kind of the main stomping ground before I moved out here. So I try and keep that alive.
Awesome. But yeah, but thank you for so many good information for our general population, our lifestyle clients, even if anybody are thinking of stepping on stage. Um, JD has made some very good pointers on the transition that potentially you may want to make. And if you guys need definitely more information, we'll definitely link more information down in the description below. But before we close it out, where can we find you? And do you have any last words of wisdom for our listeners?
So I'm at We Are the Fit Life, Instagram and Facebook. Um, I think there's a couple other things. My partner's kind of got most of that going. I do the Instagram for the most part. So yeah, that's me there. The website's thefitlife.ca, and it's all of our responsibilities to make sure we wake up and we put our feet on the ground and we get in touch with what we're supposed to be doing and make sure we're executing that. So keep fit and have fun.
Awesome. Awesome. Really good words of wisdom. Thank you so much, JD. We really appreciate your time. Thanks so much. And we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you for having me on. Yeah, it's an absolute blessing. Thank you guys.
Thanks for coming, man.